right, we are live with another episode of Mini Life. What is he got now?
Oh, what up, guys?
What are you pouring now, Mike's?
Just some Mike's gearbox oil. I found it on the shelf. I just, quite thirsty, quite parched.
Son of. Why is my gearbox oil clear? It's It's like my brake fluid. It's like my brake fluid.
Have you been mixing coolant in your oil, Mike? I don't know.
Man. Son of a bitch. This guy's always trying to interrupt my freaking intros here, man. What the I'm gonna like label mine like Sean's tears or something. I don't know. Oh, son! I don't even know what I was saying. Dude,
I don't even think you got through the intro.
I don't think I did. This guy's getting all cocky. I bring him on as a co-host. He gets his cool freaking Mini Life hat and his shirt, and he's starting taunting me and shit like that. I'm gonna boot you, dude. I'm gonna put a poll on Instagram and say who likes Sean, and I'm gonna make like 1,000 Instagrams and go and vote no just to boot you off the show. Son of a bitch.
Man, I'm all for it. Let's go. Let's try.
Jeez. Well, what are we drinking then? What do you have in there?
Gin, as always.
Gin. What the hell kind of what kind of like tub are you drinking out of? What is that thing?
Well, this?
No, not that. Clearly, I know what that is.
Oh, you mean like the little jerry can?
Yeah, like you put it in an oil can. Like what? Wait, does the gin actually come in that?
Yeah.
No way.
Robert, can you see that? It looks like an actual freaking like jerry can. Yeah.
I mean, it's yeah. Yeah.
Now I'm genuinely curious about what can that is, and
I'll tell you guys after.
Robert, you got a drink of choice over there?
I've got
like a whiskey or something.
Yeah, Singleton with ice. Scotch.
Nice choice.
Yeah.
Sons of. Well, it's 10 a.m. here, so I have another iced coffee. But
I mean, Mike, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? Surely.
Listen, the wife is at work. I could have put a little rum in here if I wanted to, but I'm trying to be responsible. I want to get through the podcast and not, I want to be able to. I can't even talk without, alcohol in my system. So, anyways. Back to the show, episode 47.
Wow.
No, wait. 46, 47, 48, I believe you are. I believe 48. I could be wrong. Everyone's going to be like, what? Did I click on the wrong episode? Anyways, Robert, we've been chatting for a little bit now.
Yeah.
Pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I know we kind of went back and forth with some scheduling. Obviously, that's the hardest part about the show. I said it before. It's just getting the time zones synced up. Everyone's life schedule is busy.
That's it.
Not everyone's number one priority is talking about classic minis, but I get it. It should.
It really should.
It should be. Oh, man. So Robert's Instagram, for all of you that like to follow along as we're going, is Norma_the_mini. I don't know why I just was attracted to this. As most minis I am, possibly the British Racing Green, possibly the name Norma. I don't know. It just it called to me.
Yeah.
And we've been chit-chatting. So again, thank you for being on, man.
Oh, thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm really excited to be on here. I've watched a lot of the podcasts, as many as I could fit in. So
I
appreciate it. Thanks, Robert.
Appreciate it. I know. I listen to as many as I can fit into, but I used to, when I first started, I would listen to every episode back, and as I kind of go, it's like, well, that's a lot. Like, editing, it takes up a lot of time. And I would listen to the whole episode through after I edit it to make sure. I was like, dude, I can't do that anymore. So if you guys, if there's a mistake in there and there's just too many hours of editing to keep listening back to it. So usually it's one take, boys. We're one take, boys and girls.
One and done.
Yeah.
One and done. We should just start live streaming it. And
I don't see why we haven't done a live stream.
I'm so glad it's not live, to be honest.
Oh, well, what we could do live is
Oh, I forgot you had that.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Well, we'll leave that for.
It was really
I had
loud.
to use it. Was it loud? So it wasn't loud at all on mine. I don't know why. Well, I could have turned it up for you.
Please
Anyways. Well, we've been jibber jabbing for long enough. Robert, let's jump into it, man. How did you get attracted to the classic Mini? Were you a car guy? Was your dad, family? What was it?
I've always been into cars, like, full stop. Not necessarily minis, but I remember when I was I must have been about 5 or 6, I think. My dad had a Reliant Robin, because at the time he only had a motorbike license. So to get round that but still have a car, because it's got one wheel at the front, he bought a Reliant Robin which he could use on a motorbike license. And at the same time, my mum had a classic Mini, bright orange. I think it was a Mayfair, if I remember rightly. And yeah, she took me to school in it like a handful of times, and that was it. The smell, the sound, the ride, like it was like sitting on the back of a horse sort of thing. It was pretty lively. So yeah, it was cool, and that sort of, I think that's where the bug kind of came from. I've been looking at them for a very, very long time, but just never had the time or the money or whatever to actually like take the plunge. And yeah, so I think it's kind of my mum's fault, really.
It's a cool mum to have.
Hey, at least didn't end up with a Reliant Robin.
I think that ended up in a.
Those are kind of cool.
Yeah, because my dad was. This was like early 90s. My dad was working for a company called AdScene, where he had to like go around and try and sell advertising space in like a newspaper. And they gave him a Ford Fiesta, and of course I think it was a really, really cold morning, if I remember rightly, and it didn't start, but the Reliant Robin did. So off he went.
What are the chances?
Yeah, around the back roads, and I think it didn't make it round a corner or something like that.
That's the car that on Top Gear they were like flipping and stuff, isn't
that it? Yeah. Let's see how like unstable it is. Yeah, I think my dad was doing that in the early 90s before Jeremy Clarkson. So
yeah, that's hilarious, man. Oh man, that's pretty funny. Now what a duo to have, a classic Mini, a Reliant Robin. Wow. Well, thankfully you kind of drifted towards the Mini. Obviously, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The Reliant Robin is pretty cool in terms of practicality for an actual car to own.
Yeah.
I think the Mini wins on that one. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. I think it was more of like, because my dad was he was getting cold, like riding his bike in the winter and stuff like that, and he eventually passed his car license for when he was with AdScene, and then he got the car, but he still had the Robin Reliant. So it was luckily that he did have that. But yeah, it was just literally like, I think it was just like a roof over his head rather than being on the bike, was rather than
pretty
thinking
much
that's the car for me, sort of thing.
That's funny. I love that. So how long did your mom or how long was that Mini in the family for? Did you get to learn on it when you turned 16 or 17?
No. It was long gone. I think it was with us until its next MOT. My mum always wanted one, but back then they were like, you could buy one for a couple of £100, and if it didn't go through the MOT, it just went in the bin. So that one was deemed dangerous, and yeah, I think rust was the issue. So I think it was months rather than years, unfortunately.
Such a shame.
Yeah. She finally got the car that she wanted, and it was short lived, I think, but long enough for me to get bitten by the bug.
That's the main thing, isn't it? Really, as long as you can get that bug bitten into you and that
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
nostalgia back. That's
Yeah. It's like people say to me now, like when just the idea of like a choke in a car, just like even people my age, it just blows their mind. But obviously with a Robin Reliant and a Classic Mini, from a young age, it was quite normal to see like the choke being pulled out and a peg being stuck in, or whatever it was at the time that was being used to stop it from going back in. And yeah, so that was quite a normal sort of concept to me, but it seems a bit alien to most.
That's like one of the number one questions I get at like little meets and stuff is like, why do you have a clothes peg in your car? Like, if you know, you know.
Yeah. I think it was
although
my
choke cable works pretty good, so.
Yeah, my neighbor over the road, he had a Mini when he was in his teens, I think, and he said get a clothes peg. He said because your clutch won't always hold out. Your choke, sorry, won't always hold out on its own. The cable tends to like ease back in, and yeah, so got a couple of pegs. Away I went.
Just to know, if anyone hasn't, like any of the listeners who haven't had to use a clothes peg yet, you don't want to use the plastic ones because they will snap. You want to use a good quality wooden peg.
It's quite hard to get the wooden ones. They all seem to be plastic.
That's it. I can't see them anywhere nowadays.
No.
They're all plastic, like you said.
Yeah, and the wooden ones that I got, like they're really, really thin. Or I tried, I think it was Hobbycraft, but they were like these, like on the website, I couldn't tell how big they were, but I thought like it said like giant peg, and I just thought like maybe it'll be a big like fat one, but it was like this massive like over. I was like, I don't think
it's like 3 feet long.
Yeah, maybe in like a Mr. Bean program or something, but yeah.
Oh man, that's funny. I don't even like see clothes pegs here anymore. Like ever. It's like I think I got mine from my mother-in-law's house. Like she just had one, like a vintage one from the freaking 60s, probably. Like I don't know where it was from.
Vintage peg.
Yeah, because everyone has like a washer dryer, so not everyone,
like
but you know,
hand whistled or something like that. Back in the day.
Do you remember, you mentioned a little bit, and I'm always kind of curious about this, and I feel like we don't dive into it deep enough, but when you were younger and you said your mom drove you around in the Classic Mini and you kind of got the bug and you don't know what it really was, the smell or whatever, but can you kind of remember back to a moment that you're like, man, I really want one of these, or you know, something like that? And because I can't really think about that, it just like kind of evolved from my love for minis evolved. Like I remember going to, you know, Europe as a kid with my dad, traveled the world for his job, and I remember seeing them, but I don't remember like a specific moment because you know, like, but if you had them in your family, you might. I don't know. Just curious about that.
I don't remember a specific moment, to be honest. Like I say, I must have been about 5 or 6. So it was like lifts to primary school rather than like secondary school. But I remember going to see it when my mum bought it, and I sat in the car when she drove it back, and it was just like, you know what it's like when like you first buy a car, especially like a classic car, and it like, well, I remember when I drove mine back, it was just like the most terrifying and exciting thing all at the same time. So I can't imagine how my mum felt then, sort of like driving me in the passenger seat. And I think my dad must have driven his car back, but yeah, I think it was an instant thing. I mean, it was a bright orange Mini, so it wasn't understated in any way, shape, or form. And yeah, it was just, you know, I think because I'd been in the Robin Reliant, it was a bit like I knew kind of what to expect, but it was just, it was just so much fun. But I can't really remember like journeys or anything like that. And obviously it wasn't with us very long, so it was a real like snapshot in time.
Yeah, for sure. Side note, about the Robin. Are those 2-seaters?
Yeah.
Does anyone know?
No. I think you've got 3 in the back still.
I think there is still a
I'm
bench
pretty
in the back,
sure.
isn't there?
Yeah.
Really?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No way. I'm on a Google. I've just that just popped. You said oh, I've been in it, and I was like, wait, are those?
This is going to be Mike's new project now, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, it does look like it has a back seat. Whoa. Wow.
I'm pretty sure
it depends.
I remember.
Hey, look at this one's got a little truck bed on it. Hey, here's a tank one. Look at that. It's got a free. All right, we're going down the rabbit hole here, but that's awesome.
You must have seen the.
When did you get to the point?
One.
Oh, go ahead. What was that?
You must have seen the Independent Trotters one. The
Only Fools and Horses.
Only Fools and Horses. Like late 80s, I think.
Oh,
series.
Mike, I will send you a link after this. You will love it.
It's a game changer.
Fours and Horses. Okay.
Send in the superhero episode.
Oh, 100%. It's got to be that one. Or the or at least the chandelier.
Yeah, that was Christmas one, wasn't it? I think the chandelier.
I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this a British show? What is this?
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Very, very much so a British show. You'll love it. It's right up your alley, Mike.
All right. So I'll check that out after the show. Off of Reliant Robins, I'm not going to ask about them anymore until next question. So you obviously went quite a few years until you got a classic Mini. What changed? Was it just, did something stumble upon you, into your lap? Kind of, we've heard this kind of before. Were you looking for one where it's like, hey, it's time. Let's get this. How'd you find yours?
I've been looking at classic Minis for I don't know how long. I'm forever on eBay looking at old stuff anyway. So classic Minis just sort of, I always kept going back to it. I've had a few project cars and stuff, and then it was like, what do I have next? And it was always sort of, is it this or is it that? And I toyed with the idea of Beetles, because I like all the air-cooled stuff. But Beetles were just a bit too big if you've got a standard garage. Whereas if you put a Mini in a standard garage, you can you can walk around it, you can have a party around it. It doesn't take up a lot of space. So that was sort of where I ended up. And what changed was probably never being able to save enough to buy one. And then I got kind of lucky with having a small business and the pandemic, and managed to squirrel away. And I had this money sort of sitting there, and I thought, if I don't invest it or do something with it constructive, it's just going to go on the bills and the mortgage and all of that stuff. So I just said, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna go and buy one. It didn't take me long. I did jump in a little bit two-footed, I think, but I knew I needed a solid one, and it was kind of I wanted a Cooper, and I was pretty sure I wanted a green one, and this one came up, and it was London, so it wasn't. I mean, I live on in the southeast in Folkestone, so it was 45 minutes on a fast train, so it wasn't too far away, and it had been reduced, and it looked, from someone that didn't really know a lot about them. I knew I liked them, but I didn't really know. To me, it looked like an original Cooper. It wasn't. There was lots of things that had been sort of subtly changed. Like I found out weeks afterwards, those spotlights are not right at all. The way that they'd actually been put on the car was a little bit bizarre, but it looked the part, and it looked cool, and it was a Mini, and it was it had the stripes for the Cooper, and So yeah, I went and had a look at it, and I checked under all the carpets, not knowing exactly what to look for in a Mini. I did a little bit of research beforehand, but I checked all the usual areas for like rot and rust, and it was solid. So, and the guy said to me, you can drive it home. He said it's a driver, it's on the road, and I drove it home.
Fantastic. That's so cool to be able to go off and actually drive it home without even expecting to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I got the train up there fully expecting, like, if this is the one, I'm just going to get it, because I can be quite impulsive, although careful in like other areas. But yeah, he was a nice guy. It was kept in a garage. He looked after it himself, and I later found out that the outside of it had very much been sort of looked after, but underneath it was it was in a bit of a bad way. But I found that out when I drove it home.
Oh no.
Yeah. It was July 21, which was, and on the day that I went to see it was the hottest day of the year, and I think it broke records, if I remember rightly, for July. And yeah, I drove it back. Yeah, he said, after I'd given him the money, he said, you might need this, and gave me like 5 liters of water. And I was like,
oh no.
After you paid him.
Yeah.
No returns.
Yeah.
Sold as seen, yeah.
Oh my God, it was bad. It was bad. But yeah, I mean, it blew me away. Like, I'd never driven a Mini before. I'd never driven anything quite that sort of agricultural, shall we say, and it was very much on its thumb with like mechanics and stuff like that. So it was interesting, but it made it all the way back to the next town along, and it only conked out because it was so hot, and I decided to come off the motorway and just sort of like drive it through town and see how it got on. And yeah, I cooked my goose a little bit, and the steam was it was like an arrival of yeah, smoke and all the rest of it. But I let it cool down, and we made it back.
Thing is, how many smiles did that one tiny little bit of drive give you, though, for
Yeah,
those few moments?
Like there was moments like going over what's the bridge from London to Kent?
Are you on about Dartford?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went over the Dartford Bridge, and I was just like, what am I doing? Like, in this car that I looked at like an hour ago, and now I'm driving it back. I was just like, this is mad, but it was so much fun. And like you say, like, it was worth it. And I was still laughing when it overheated. I was like, I've had cars that have overheated before, so I wasn't worried. I wanted something to work on, so.
At least you could smile about it. That's instead of going sort of full on, Faulty Towers and Basil with the with the branch hitting the car on the windscreen.
Yeah. I didn't quite go Basil Faulty, but it was. I just said to myself, like, you're an idiot. Why don't you just stay on the motorway? Like, you would have made it. But I wouldn't have found out. Like, it showed up what was wrong with it, like, instantly, like the worst problem that it had, which was the radiator, which was like a bird's nest. Once I took it out, it was
jeez,
see through.
Oh man,
yeah,
wasn't the most watertight thing, huh?
No, it was all the hoses were fine, but the radiator just it was on its last legs. I think it was the original radiator, and like none of that side of thing had been really touched. So I was just thankful that I got it back without doing any damage to the engine.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like driving either a new classic car to you, or or like a freshly built one, or like, you know, something like that. It's been off the road a long time for the first time and a long distance. Oh man, such a
It's a
thrill.
recipe.
Yeah.
Such
Such a recipe
thrill.
for disaster.
It is. I still get it now. Like, you know, I could drive it down, I don't know, down to the other end of the coast or something like that, and I'd still be like, ugh. Because I don't drive it in the winter, so it's like laid up, and I do bits on it, and that, you know, because I'm not that mechanically like minded, but I bought it to learn stuff about engines and stuff like that. I know a little bit, but so every time I like change stuff and then I start driving it, I'm like, it's
I
a
feel like
moment
that's
every drive.
everyone's reaction, really. Like, it doesn't matter. I
Fair
mean,
enough.
it doesn't matter how many times I've worked on my car. Every time I drive, I'm like, oh.
It's a case of it's a case of not if but when, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So okay, so it's a Rover Cooper.
Yeah, 91. It's I think, if I remember when I looked it up, I think it was the last year before they switched over to, so it was a carb, and then it went to, was it SPI? And then
I believe so.
MPI
Yeah, I think it
after
went
that,
to,
I think it was.
Yeah, I think it went to SPI in 92 or 93, something like that.
That's it. Yeah, mine was March 91, so quite sort of close to before they changed, but I wanted a carb. I wanted something that would be not completely reliable so that I could mess about with it and learn stuff.
I love it. I love it. So
I
you
think
get
you're
it.
the only. Sorry, Mike. Go on.
Go ahead. No.
No, I was going to say, I think Robert's the only man that would buy something knowing it's unreliable, just to be able to say it's unreliable.
Yeah, I mean, I think like from the short time that I've owned the car, it all in all, it's. I mean, I did the London to Brighton in it, and it wasn't. I hadn't put that many out. I put a lot of time into it, but not enough to get it to where it really needed to be to do that kind of distance. But it did it. You know, sort of underlying problems or not. I solved a lot of the issues, but it did it. You know, so it was reliable for that distance at least. But I never wanted a car that was finished. I never, you know, I mean, they're never finished, are they? But, you know, I didn't want something that someone had said, like, right, I've done this, I've taken it apart, it's a full resto, there you go. Because I'd be scared of driving it.
Yeah.
That's the main reason.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, realistically, I think, you know, the carb engine, they're so simple. Like, they're not unreliable. It just depends on what stage it's at, right? Like you said, like if somebody else builds it, you have no idea what's been done, what hasn't been done. You know, like realistically, mine only has left me stranded once, and I barely even count that because it was just like a loose ground wire that I knocked loose. Like, it wasn't anything unreliable about the car. So I think it's just realistically how, you know, okay, they leak. Cool. When's the last time you changed all the seals? You know, like that's just wear and tear items. They're old cars, so.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I have a buddy that's messaging me now trying to get his SPI up and running, and it's got issues too. They're you know, they got their own bugs now. But now you're dealing with vacuum wires or vacuum lines and ECUs and stuff. Not that it's like a modern day car, but you know what I mean. There's other things that you got to mess with. So
yeah, and I had like old BMWs before, and most of the problems that I had was like wiring and ECUs and sensors and and the BMW that I had was 90. The oldest one I had, I think, was a 92, and that had ECU, and it was a great car, great engine, but you can't play with them too much.
Is that an E36?
The first one I had was an E30.
E30.
So like the classic touring car shape. but it was a touring, which is the estate. But the back had been chopped off and it had been turned into a pickup truck.
Aha.
So it was, it wasn't a normal BMW, but normal Sporin. So,
which is why we all drive Minis, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is why we have Reliant Robins. I think I'm ditching Mini Life, and we're gonna do like Reliant Robin.
Oh, you heathen! You absolute heathen, Mike.
Reliant Robin. I gotta think of a good name,
Easily swayed. We only talked about it for like 2 minutes.
I'm sold already.
Done with Mini.
Well, you know what I could do? I could put the A series engine in the Reliant Robin. Throw
That'd
some 10s on there, throw some Mambas on there, put some high-lows, nothing too crazy. All right, so you made this journey back. You're fresh. Your new classic car. You made it back without overheating too bad. And you said, it was a driver, but there's some issues. What did you have to kind of upgrade on this car? Did you have to pull the engine, rebuild? What did you have to do?
I didn't pull the engine, but I basically went all the way around it. So everything came off of the front and the sides, more or less. The major issue was the cooling system. And once I got into it, I was, it's like everyone says, it's like, well, I've taken this off, so I might as well do this bit, and so yeah, it was like water pump, fan. I did the hoses while I was there because they were, the bottom hose on the on the radiator was like something out of like Toxic Crusaders or something like that. It's just like where the hose stopped and the radiator began, I don't know, but there was a clip around it somewhere, but it was just like, I don't know, something like out of a Ridley Scott film. It was it like morphed into the rest of it, so there was no getting it off, so I had to cut the hose off to get it out. So that was a wrestle. And then I changed a lot of the electrics, like the plugs, the leads, the coil, stuff like that, because I was just there, so it kind of made sense. And then once I'd got all of that off, before I put everything back on, I painted the block and just tried to make it look, because where it had overheated before, and it had like when I bought it, it had like the shroud over the front to stop the electrics from getting wet in the winter and all of that sort of stuff. I couldn't really see underneath sort of when I looked at it initially, but you could tell that there was coolant all over everything, like the rusty brown water. So yeah, that was absolutely everywhere. So I cleaned as much as I could. I don't have anything to be able to remove the engine. So some people say like all the gear, no idea. I'm more sort of none of the gear and no idea either. So so it was kind of I just did as much as I could to keep it cool and to try and make it as reliable as I could. And luckily, I've got a friend who works for a team that races minis. So he was like, if there's any parts that you take off that you want to keep, like the rocker or anything like that, and you want it painted, he was like, just give it to me and I'll take it to the booth. And yeah, so I had like all these like original parts that I thought I don't even have to clean them because he can just sandblast them. And yeah, really, really nice of him to do that. So
I bet he's a popular guy, isn't he?
He is to me. But yeah, he's great. We did the London to Brighton together, because he's got a Mini. I think his is a Mayfair, but it's got like the Cooper sort of bits and pieces to it. But yeah, he helped me out a lot with like the parts and stuff. But everything else I had it in a garage, and I still got it in a garage with no power, so everything's hand tools. So it's it takes a long time, and I'm kind of limited, but I just do what I can. Anything I can't do, I'll just give to someone else. But it hasn't been to a garage yet.
I think working on your car with hand tools is a fantastic way to learn and kind of I don't want to say rite of passage, but like I still use primarily hand tools.
Same here.
Obviously sometimes when you come to a very stuck bolt or something that needs like a high torque,
Power.
like I recently, like very recently, got like a impact gun, just out of like I needed to. Oh, I was trying to get the pinion nut off my gearbox, and it was like that. It's like torqued to like 150, so like doing that by hand was very difficult on the gearbox. So that's the only reason I've got it, because everything else is pretty much all hand tools. I love that. I love the simplicity of it, and you could feel it better, right? You know, a lot of guys just start ripping on their electric wrench, or I don't know. Do you guys call it the electric wrench over there, or is it electric spanners?
We call us socket sets.
Socket sets, like the little ones that look like a ratchet.
Yeah.
No, that's called a socket set.
You got your socket sets. You got your impact.
Oh, you mean
drills
the powered one?
Yeah,
the powered ones. You know, I'm talking like
So,
the
like,
Milwaukee power rent. We're gonna.
We still call that like impact gun, I think.
Yeah.
Impact. Huh.
Yeah.
Impact.
But the thing is, as well, is we're like going back to the hand tools. Like, it's so humbling. Like, the amount of patience it actually teaches you, no matter what age you are, it will always humble you, regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I like Mike said, I did invest in an impact gun because there was just certain things that I just couldn't. Like when it came, because last winter I did the suspension on the front. The year before was all about like cooling and everything else, but once I realised that it didn't overheat, I realised how bad the ride was. But getting things like the shock tower mounts and stuff like that, I just it had to be an impact gun in the end to try and loosen those. But getting the wheels off is easier with those as well. But apart from that, hand tools is I haven't got a choice because I haven't got any power in my garage because it's not near my house. So yeah, but it's good fun.
Yeah, for sure. I love so far you've pretty much kind of just done some maintenance little upgrades here and there. I see you definitely got some cool shiny bits from Steveston Motor Co. out of Sutton Garage or something that they supply that stuff.
I don't think he does anymore. I think if I remember rightly, I think he had some sort of family stuff to contend with at the time, which is fair enough, sort of working and, you know, doing that as well. But yeah, I basically got the steering wheel off of him from Steveston, the clear sun visors, but I got the yellow tinted ones. And I think that's kind of around the time that I started to go with the theme of like green and yellow. Obviously I painted the block the year before in yellow, and then when I saw those I was like, oh, okay, right.
It's like you knew.
Yeah. It really worked. And there's a lot of tie-ins between like the color scheme and the name and stuff like that. So yeah, their products are great.
Definitely, those sun visors look super cool. I've been eyeing those for a while.
Yeah,
I just got their little drain plug, which is awesome too.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, because I think when I started to do research, theirs were the videos that I was really sort of I think because they're so well like polished and done.
Yep.
and they're so informative. They were like my Bible for like, oh, what do I do with this then? I was like, let's see if there's a video for it, and there was. So most of the stuff, and then obviously, you know, they did little videos about their products and stuff that they were selling, and yeah, I bought the same plug that you did in the same color. It's really smart.
Super
No one ever
nice.
sees it, but it's like it's got the
I
logo
know.
on.
That was I was like, oh man, this thing's so
I'm putting
nice. It
that on
needs to be
Instagram.
like on the hood or something. Hood ornament.
That's it.
I need to jump on the bandwagon with this one.
Oh mate,
Yeah.
they're so well done.
New gearbox. I was like, I'm gonna treat myself with this oil plug.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not just the look either. It's like the materials, because obviously they've used a lot of like parts from various like suppliers and stuff, and by the sounds of it, they've kind of got to the point where they're like, we could just make these but better. Because the magnets in the plugs are a lot stronger than like the standard ones, or
Yeah, it really is.
The mini spares ones as well. So, you know, there's that little video where he's like picking up like massive parts and stuff with like this thing. It's like, okay, that should get some crap out of the oil, you know.
Yeah, I picked up my my steering column drop bracket with it. I was like, oh dang, that's pretty heavy. Like, you know, like I was impressed. Yeah, it's a lot stronger than my stock one, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I love that. I love that. So what's the plan next? What are you just kind of slowly tinkering with it and just going by, you know, by how you feel, or what breaks, break and fix it?
Yeah, it's kind of I haven't really had a loads of time to kind of do sort of many upgrades, because there was quite a lot to do when I bought it. But yeah, each winter I'm kind of going through stuff, and then I'm finding out more in the summer. You know, what works and what doesn't. And it's like when I did the front suspension, because I didn't realise, but it wasn't until I looked back at the original pictures on the advert for the car, and it was like that. And my mate said to me, he's like, "Has that got high lows on it?" And I was like, I don't know, because I took it to a car show, and he was like looking around it, and obviously he knows a bit about minis, and yeah, he was like, "Has it got high lows?" And he looked, and he was like, "No, your suspension's a little bit collapsed there."
Yeah, your cones are just smushed.
Yeah,
just the sums hitting the floor and bouncing down the road.
Honestly, it ended up like, I think it was the first summer that I was using it and showing it and stuff like that. I put a load of like weights in the back to try and lift the front up, and that kind of worked for a little while. But yeah, last winter I did all the suspension, the shocks. But then that just highlighted that the rear suspension needed doing as well, and that probably hadn't been touched. So it dances a little bit at the back. It's a bit like a trifle, but the front end's really good. You know.
Just out of curiosity, what shocks did you end up going for in the end?
It was the gas shocks, I think, if I remember rightly.
You got the adjustable dampening on those as well, or
no. That's a very technical question for me. I watched the video.
Sorry, Rob, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there.
No, it's all good. No, they were.
He clicked buy. No,
hey, that's what I do, man.
Saw it and bought it. No, it was,
honestly, I didn't get the adjustable ones either, because I didn't want that like pressure, because I was like, that's too many adjustments, way too many. And then I did hear a lot of people, they're like, even on the softest setting, it's really hard. I went with what did I have? I forget. I have G-Max?
It's a G-Max,
I don't know.
yeah.
The yellow, whatever I got, I really like them. They're pretty comfy on the road, and my car is pretty damn stiff in the corner, so I don't know if I don't know.
Yeah, because I've got the Spax Kryptons with the adjustable dampening on, and I just set everything as stiff as I possibly could. And I kid you not, that
of course
thing
you
is
did.
terrifying right corners. You know, that bump steer as you're going around is absolutely unreal. So yeah, I need to definitely soften everything off.
That's why your back hurts. You're in a freaking Kirky seat with no padding, and your freaking shocks maxed out to hard. Yikes.
Yeah. Don't take any advice from me, Robert, or any of our listeners.
Jesus.
It's like I
Come
said,
on.
I used a lot of the Stevenson videos because they did like a whole where they had like a front end
Yep.
out of the car, and they was like, we use these because of this, and we use the red dot cones, and I was like, I'm going to go with that and see.
Yeah.
They seem to think it's pretty good for the road, so I went with that setup, and I was impressed. Obviously,
honestly, if you go with
before,
anything stock, if you just do the stock suspension, it's still impressive. It's like, it's the Mini. That's why the Mini is so great. Personally, I think the suspension is just fantastic no matter what you have. Obviously, if you lower it, wider wheels, stiffen it up, it's on rails even more. But just replacing the stock suspension, it just like, wow, this is it's a very stiff for corners.
Yeah, I think for me as well, the testament to the design was because when I took the cones out, they were Dunlop cones, which, as far as I know, are what Rover originally put in them.
I think so.
And by the state of them, I don't think they'd ever been out. So I drove that back from London on the original cones, which were collapsed.
Jeez, that must have been bouncing so much, man.
Yeah, but I didn't know any different. I was like, oh, it's just a Mini,
Well, I suppose if you're used to a Robin Reliant, which is that single shock on the front,
yeah. Oh, that's good. I love it.
Yeah, it was an experience.
Well, any other projects you got going on, Robert? What's in the pipeline here for you?
Not a lot really. I want to get the wheels painted over the winter. I'll probably get another set at some point, and then I might sort of keep the originals because everything that I've done to the car, whether it be like a big change or just a mechanical thing, I wanted it to be easy to change it back.
Right.
So that, if anyone else wanted it to look more like an original Cooper, they could. I mean, there wasn't a lot of real original bits on it, but the interior's original and stuff like that. So I just want to make it as usable as possible. So nothing too crazy, but I just want to use it and go as far as I can on journeys with it without having any problems. Kind of the
I
goal.
love it. Yeah, no, I love it. Easy.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, man. Driving it.
Exactly. My son's massively into cars as well, so it was kind of something that I wanted him to be sort of, maybe interested in and pick up some stuff and learn some basics as he gets older. And I just go on journeys like my parents had a lot of caravans and stuff when I was a kid, and had some real funky old cars and stuff. So had lots of fun journeys when I was a kid, and I just kind of want to give him a little bit of that as well if I can.
See, this is what modern society is missing out on so badly. If you're not within the circles of minis, having those adventures and, as a kid growing up and going out on those adventures with caravans and all, classic cars, it's what the world's missing at the moment. There's no joy or fun otherwise, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think caravans and stuff are making a little bit of a comeback. Definitely camper vans, caravans, and stuff like that. Got a few friends that are sort of selling stuff to fund it. So I think the staycation and exploring our own island rather than just jumping on a plane and going somewhere is becoming a lot more popular again. And
definitely.
I think classic and retro cars are right behind that as well, which is cool.
Yeah, I think analog is coming back just because people are so digital and in the future, and everyone's kind of or at least the younger generation is kind of oh, cool. This is kind of interesting, this analog thing, you know, and they're kind of wanting to get into classic cars or, like you said, go out in nature actually and explore their country or their state or Worcestershire or something like that, you know. Like
You're not doing too bad, man.
was that good? I just that
was decent, mate.
Was that spot on? It's probably that's probably the flat cap. Hell yeah, wanker.
By order of the Peaky Blinders, eh, Mike?
Hey, I'm gonna slice you with my razor blade in this cap. Do I have to put like this show is explicit now that I said wanker? Is that
no?
Is that a real?
Is it PG-13? You get to say one swear word.
I don't know. Is that a bad word? I don't know. I feel like you guys say other words that are not appropriate in the United States, and I won't say them on air. But I think it's hilarious.
The W one's fairly tame, I think, these days.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. All right, good.
I won't say it again just in case you get in trouble.
This is it. Spotify's cancelling us. We're done, yeah.
I think as well, because I've got a 6-year-old now, I'm so used to, like, not using the words and just saying, the W or the...
So if it's that bad, if you can't say it around your kid, I don't know. I'm just kidding. Spotify's pretty cool. I don't think they're going to cancel. If they're not canceling Joe Rogan, they're not canceling Mini Life. You know, let's
Yeah, you should be okay.
We should be good. Robert, you want to jump into the Patty probe?
On the what, sorry?
The Patty probe. What? I thought you listened to the... What? You not finishing the podcasts?
I don't think so, by the sounds of it.
Robert.
Son of a b. Wow. Well, for Robert and those new to the podcast, we do a little segment at the end, just a little quickie called the Patty Probe from Patty Hopkirk. It's a series of controversial, if you will, mini questions, you know? Just a little fun little thing that we do with all our guests.
Okay, cool.
So, all right. So the first question is, why aren't you listening to all of our podcasts? No, I'm just kidding.
The honest answer is I don't finish anything.
Oh, all right. Well, okay. I was going to come back with something, but this is a family show, so. The first question, Robert, is, what's your favorite Mini variant, and why is it the Reliant Robin?
I'd probably say I've got a soft spot for like the vans and the trucks. I think because I had this phase of like the whole American kind of hot rod scene. So the trucks kind of, and because I had the BMW truck, that was kind of my answer to having a hot rod. So yeah, I think if it wasn't a Cooper, it'd have to be the trucks.
It's a good choice. Oh, would you have it sign written or unsigned written? Would you just have it bare if it was a van?
Yeah, I'd probably go that whole like sign written, like hand.
Yeah,
I do actually want to get mine sort of hand sign written at some point.
I might know a guy who might be able to do it.
Oh yeah.
Well, I've been speaking to someone who I found through watching a program on TV, and they're really, really cool. So I've sort of spoken to them loosely about it. So at some point it will be happening. But
that'd be cool to see, man.
For those that don't know, Sean used to do hand lettering or pinstriping. Did you do much hand lettering? Or?
I dabbled a little bit with sign writing. I used to do it for a job years ago.
Oh wow!
But my actual sort of way of doing stuff was all pinstriping mainly. That's what I enjoyed doing more.
Yeah.
So if you guys want some pinstriping done, hit up Sean.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I love the new design. The tail light is.
I appreciate that so much, man. Thank you.
That needs to be art prints. That needs to be T-shirts and posters. That needs to be everywhere. That does.
Actually, coasters would be a cool idea.
Coasters, actually, you know what? It could be a pretty cool little sticker too.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll have to
Yeah,
dabble. A lot of people have hit us up about that. It's very cool design. So
I appreciate it. I can't thank everyone enough for the support and the love through with all these designs. Sorry, it's so humbling. I love it.
Yeah, it's really different, the tail light one as well. It's, you know,
This is
there's
what I was saying to Mike. You know, a lot of
few
companies
variants.
nowadays will do things like carburetors or wheels or anything like that. No one does like a Mark II rear tail light or anything sort of different on a Mini. So no, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
love it, love it. Let's see here. I think this is a fitting one since you've done a lot of maintenance and kind of tinkering about getting your Mini up and running. What has been the most pain in the ass job while kind of maintaining this bad boy?
It probably has to be the I snapped 2 bolts in the shock mount,
Oh,
and one of them was
no.
right at the top, right up in the wheel arch, and I couldn't get the I couldn't get the tool to it. So, and I've never done anything like drilling out a bolt and then re-threading it. So I had to do lots of research and buy the tools, and but after I snapped those 2 bolts, I literally put my tools down and walked away for about 3 it was literally about 3 months. It might have even been more.
man.
I just said, Norma, you bitch, and walked away.
I'll tell you a little to make you feel better. A little story that just happened to me last weekend was I was trying to get my gearbox back onto the car. I'll make it quick. Gearbox back into the car. It was a brand new gearbox. I was rushing. I put it all back together with all the gasket, a little gasket sealer, everything, and bolted it down. And then I realized I forgot to bolt on the first motion gear. And I was like, shit. So I had to pull it all back off. And usually you lock the 2 gears into place so it locks the whole thing, like first and fourth, I believe. But because the diff was in, you can't do that. So I was trying to think of other ways to do it. So basically like jamming something in there or putting another gear on top of it or something. So when the gearbox, it has to be torqued to 150. We were talking about hand tools earlier, right? So I was standing on top of the box trying to hold it in place and with the torque wrench, and it slipped and I fell. I went flying because all my might was into it. I fell into my workbench. Shit went everywhere. My gearbox flipped and landed on my phone screen because I had my phone there looking at the torque specs. Cracked my phone screen. I was laying there on the floor like, and I just left everything. I put the trash bag back over the gearbox and I just walked inside. I was like, oh my God, cracked the beer open. So I think everyone's been in that situation. You just left everything and walked away.
Yeah. It was either that or getting physical with the car, or just crying.
It's
But yeah.
Oh
I
man.
think because of the whole theme of the car being Norma, I never say anything bad in front of her, like Christine, that John Carpenter film, just in case she tries to kill me.
That was going to be my next question. I usually don't ask this one because I typically ask it during the interview. I forgot. Does your car have a name? Yes. And what's the story behind it?
So it was kind of a chain of events. Cars to me I've always given them girls' names. And I'm never very good at coming up with names. So I said to my son, who was 4 at the time, I said, "What do we call the Mini?" And straight away, without batting an eyelid, he said Norman. And Norman is to most people, it's quite a random name, but it's my middle name, which is my dad's name. So,
okay.
And he was sort of talking about grandparents quite a lot. I mean, my dad's dad isn't here anymore, but I thought, I can't call this car Norman. it's an important name to me, but like, you know, trying to explain why your car's called Norman is a bit strange. So I thought I'd leave it, and something will come up. We'll think of something. And so the first winter, obviously, I was doing all of the cooling, and I don't know if you've heard of a company called Norma, who make Jubilee clips. Have you ever seen those?
No, I've never seen them.
So it was one of the hoses from quite low down, and I managed to get it off, and it had Norma written on it, and I was like, and I'd only asked him like a couple of days before, and so it was like fresh in my head, like
How spooky is that?
Norma, and so I was like, wow, maybe that's it, and my wife and I have always like bonded over horror films, and we watched all of like Bates Motel, which we absolutely loved. So yeah, it was like, there we go, that's it. You know, Otis suggested Norman.
I love
so
that.
cool.
That all makes sense. And I remember seeing the Bates Motel kind of a hotel looking tag, vintage tag looking on your keys.
Yeah,
and now that all makes sense.
Yeah,
Norma, son of a I love that.
That's cool as hell, man.
Yeah, because Norma was basically Norman Bates was the son, and Norma was kind of like a projection of his mum.
Right.
So Norma was Norman effectively. In the original, and and obviously, you know, minis are unpredictable, and she had like this like split personality and stuff, so it fit really, really well. And I love horror films, so it was like, that's it, you know, and that's the kind of theme that we're going with now.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, she kind of named herself. Yeah.
Well, very, very, very cool. I like that. Well,
my son was
Robert,
born on the 13th.
What was that?
13th. My son was born on the 13th.
Oh,
yeah, lucky 13.
Yeah,
there we go. I love it, man. That's super cool. I love that. Well, it was awesome to have you on. Is there anything else you want the people to know?
No, I think we've covered it. I just want to say thank you so much for having me on, and you know, I love the show, although I don't finish them.
Hopefully you will now from now on, Robert. Yeah.
You know what? I've picked up so many books and never finished them, but I recently, funnily enough, listened to Arnold Schwarzenegger's new book, and that's like, you know, that was 5 hours. That's the only book I've ever like finished. So I will get through the podcasts as well, but I've listened to lots of them, but obviously never got to the good stuff at the end.
I must admit, I do the same thing sometimes. A new episode of a podcast comes out, I'm like, ooh, that one. It's like, ooh, look at the bird, you know, type of thing.
Yeah,
so
it's probably
I don't hate you for it, but it's okay. Everyone go follow Norma _the _mini on Instagram. Check out Robert's progress on his beautiful British Racing Green Mini. And go check out the merch. We got the hats, the stickers, the shirt, and everyone go give us a like, a follow, and share some podcasts. Share your favorite moments. Let's blow this thing up. Let's get a lot of people on here. I love talking to you guys. I love all the stories, and I will catch you guys on the next one.
Cheers, guys. Cheers, Robert.
Cheers, man.